Good morning. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Hudson. My name is Marilyn Orr, President of the club, and we are thrilled to have you join us today. This meeting broadcast is available on HCTV, as well as our Rotary of Hudson YouTube channel and Facebook. Our club meets weekly using this digital platform, Zoom. When we meet in person, it's at Laurel Lake Retirement Community for breakfast. We hope to get back to that soon. We meet most Wednesday mornings from 7:15 to 8:30 a.m. So come out to join us for a meeting. We would love to have you as a guest. To learn more about Rotary, our club, and the impact we are having on our local community and the world, please visit our website, rotaryhudson.org. So enjoy this meeting today and help us share the message that Rotary opens doors of opportunity.
And you're good. Okay.
Hopefully Father Joel Boyes will appreciate this. So, yeah, let's take our hats off. Thank you. Lord God, thank you for this day. And Lord God, please watch over this country. Please don't lift your hand of protection. This country still needs you day to day. And Lord God, let us not put you on the sideline just because we go to church on Sunday. Let us make you part of our fully daily routine and worship you and spread the gospel as we can, Lord God. It's because of you that make all things possible. Amen.
And Dan, please unmute and you can.
I think I did.
Oh, good. Okay. You're all.
All right, let's all say the pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Marilyn, you're all set.
I'm all set, okay. Today is the very first meeting of this new year, and this is a year that I'm devoting to gratitude. After the last year that we've had, let's look forward to something that is really very positive this year. I'm grateful for the wonderful members of our club. I'm grateful for our wonderful Rotary partners and spouses. In particular, I'm thinking this morning of Sandy Rexroad, who has previously, for many years, been the wonderful Mrs. Claus whenever we've had the Santa on the Green. I'm also thinking of Mary Sogan, who obviously has been a strong supporter of our member Ed Sogan, as he's prepared everything for Fine Day. I'm thinking of people like Bob Sines, who was a strong supporter of our past president, Catherine Sines. So there are a lot of people, and people like Joan Tobin, who I know are sitting in the background listening to our programs for, and they're Rotary partners, such strong Rotary partners. And so today is a good day to be thinking of those people too. I'm also grateful for the new members that we've had this year, and I'm looking forward to several other new members joining us as well. So I'd like to give a shout out to our members who are joining us remotely from the Sunshine State and from the Aloha State and other locales. Isn't this technology wonderful? Now, our Strategic Planning Committee will be meeting again this Friday, January 8th at 7:30 in the morning. They are hard at work, and thank you for your responses to the recently completed survey. You'll be seeing something concrete from this organization, hopefully by the end of the first quarter. But we want to make sure that what we give is a good document and something that's sustainable beyond just my term. So know that they're hard at work. Next week, our club board directors will have a meeting immediately following our Zoom session. So please place it on your calendar if you're a board member. I expect it to be completed by 9:30 in the morning. And I'm also very pleased to induct a new Rotarian this morning, Terry Bortnick. Terry first started attending our meetings when they were live in-person meetings held at Laurel Lake. Yep, we're very pleased to now welcome you into our club. And we're going to start this month in the new year with a format that was so successful when we started the whole year. Okay. And that is by having John Adams interview several of our members. The other thing that we want to mention is that we are starting the preparation for the four-way test speech contest coming up this spring. You know, it's a new year. We do things a little differently. You'll notice that I stayed up too late watching the Georgia primaries last night. So my flag, maybe I'll have to hand hold it. I'm not so sure. And then the other thing is we forgot the four-way test as we got going this morning. So let's rub the sleepiness out of our eyes and get our program going. John, take it away.
Yeah, I forgot to put that up there, so I will put it up. Sorry about that.
Okay. Do we want to do that now?
Sure, we'll do it right now. Let me pop.
All right. I don't think it could be a Rotary meeting if we don't have the four-way test. Okay, Dan, take it away.
You'll need to unmute again.
I got it now.
Yep.
All right. Okay, this is the four-way test for Rotary. Things we think, say, and do. 1, is it the truth? 2, is it fair to all concerned? 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Okay, and let's see if John Adams can take it over at this point, and we'll see where we go. John? I know he was here.
Okay, good morning, Rotarians. Can you all hear me okay?
Yeah, we can.
Excellent. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties down here in Florida. The Wi-Fi is a little iffy sometimes, so I apologize for that. But Happy New Year to you all, and I'm excited to start our year with some getting to know our members better. You know, this idea really started from me attending our breakfast meetings, which seems like forever ago. And I'd certainly say hi to everybody and have nice conversations, but I'd leave and get in my car and realize I don't really know that person that I just had breakfast with. And so the idea of this member interview was just to really get to know the person better that we see in our meetings. And I've had fun doing them. And the feedback I've gotten is that people have enjoyed getting to know their members better. So with no further ado, here we go. We're going to start with Terry Bortnick, our newest member. Terry, good morning. How are you?
I am wonderful, thank you. And may I alert everyone right now that I hope we don't get any Amazon deliveries while we're doing this interview.
Yeah.
Because it could get noisy.
So Terry, I know you as an amazing realtor. You've been our realtor for a long time, and you know your customer service is second to none in that process. But we're trying to get to know you better as a person. So can you share with us a little bit about who you are and your background?
Okay. Well, my husband and I both grew up in Twinsburg. We went to high school together. He had the Napa Auto Parts store there in Twinsburg, which many of you may be familiar with, and one in Northfield for 32 years. We moved here. It's been just 40 years now. We moved here when our oldest was just a few years old. We did not even have our third child yet when we moved here, and have loved it ever since. I was teaching school at the time that I had my oldest son. That was my first vocation. I had gone to Akron, the University of Akron, for my undergrad work. And if you'll recall, I was making application. I was going to be commuting to school. So I was going to go to either Akron or Kent State University. And I was making application the spring of 1970. So that pretty much determined where I was going to go to school. So I went to Akron U. I commuted to Akron U and got my teaching certificate and my undergrad. And I did that for several years till we were married about 5 years and had our first child. And then I did teach in various capacities for another few years, substituting Title I programs, etc. When we had our third child, then I decided to just nix that all and concentrate on raising my children, which I did. So all three of my kids are members of the 13-year club. Those of you who've lived here a long time know what that means. They
Yep.
went from kindergarten through graduation here. And I'm just kind of laughing. Ed will recognize the pictures on my wall, and it will indicate to you how long it's been since I've redone my office. Those are high school pictures of my children playing football and field hockey and the various things that they participated in. And the one young man is 43 years old now. So I think I need to update those pictures. Once we moved here, then like I said, I was a stay-at-home mom, got a felt like I needed a little more stimulation. So I went back to college again at Kent State and spent 3.5 years getting a degree in accounting. So I got my master's in accounting, and I was then an accountant for Davy Tree for about 9 years. Once my youngest graduated from high school, I then felt that I could branch out a little bit and not be locked into an office situation. And that's when I started real estate and have loved it and enjoyed it. One of my coworkers, Gail Royster, who I'm sure you all know very well, it was kind of it spurred me on and talked a little bit about the Rotary Club when she left, and I thought it might be a good fit for myself. And that's what encouraged me to come and see what the Rotary was all about. I had participated, of course, while my kids were in school in all the various programs and was this mom and that mom and did all that stuff. And I do a lot, have done a lot with the Humane Society up till now. That the Humane Society and the Greyhound adoption, of Ohio, which is housed out of Chagrin Falls. Those are my passions. We do rescues. We always have. And so we always have animals in and out, and when they come, they stay, but we always have multiples. And so that's kind of always been my passion and where I spend my time when I have extra time. We now have 3 adult children. We have 2 of them live here in town. One just moved back again 2 years ago when she started her family. And so we have 3 darling little granddaughters that live very close by that we spend a lot of time with and enjoy. I look around at the faces on this Zoom meeting, and several of you we met as very young people through the Hudson JCs years and years and years ago. And it's amazing when I look around how the time has gone by. But anyway, we've been members of the community now who have loved it and just want to see it stay healthy and growing. And of course, now our children live here, and we want everything to be good for them, as good for them as
Sure.
it was for us.
So share with us, Terry, what's the real estate scene in Hudson right now?
Well, inventory is extremely low. You'll be surprised to hear that, and this is from 0 to bazillion. There are 23 houses on the market currently, and that is astounding. Now we expect things to get better. The overall picture is that we should see even growth continue throughout this next year. They're expecting pricing to continue to rise a bit. When you read the national or articles about housing and real estate, their prediction is that pricing will increase by 7 to 8%. We don't typically see those extreme growths here, but we should see a good solid growth pattern. And of course, the goal is, and our frustration with the city at this point, we have so many people in town who would like to make a change, but they want to stay in town. And consequently, they need an option, which right now Hudson doesn't offer. We have very few. We have the condos down where Ed and Mary live. We have, the villas. We have Hudson Commons. And then we have the few behind Heinen's, but that's really about it. We don't have a lot of ranch homes in town because we have colonials. That was what our growth spurt was back in the 80s, 70s, 80s, were colonials. People are looking for one floor living. They would make that change so that then we could have housing for our young people coming back or moving in with their families, but we're not seeing that right now. And, we were hoping that the city would proceed with some nice empty nester housing back there off of First and Main, but obviously that's kind of come to a stalemate right now. And that's kind of where we are with Hudson right now. I mean, we'll continue to have people moving and we have great expectations for the spring market.
You said that there's 23 houses total in town.
Total. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing.
That's amazing for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
but the forecast is good.
Got it. So, there's certainly lots of impact from the pandemic, and you don't have to look very far to find negative impact on people's lives. But I've really tried to ask the question of our Rotarians the other way. In what way would you say that you've learned something or that you are a better person because of the pandemic?
Oh gosh, I think that we've all learned to put our own personal feelings toward, and what I mean is in regard to opinions about this whole pandemic and where you may lie. And I, in particular in business, have learned to put that all on the back burner and listen and be tuned in, more empathetic to the concerns of those I'm with. And of course, being a real estate agent, that's a quality or a characteristic, if you will, that you've got to have. And I think that I have learned to just be more, as I said, in tune with the people that I'm with and empathetic to their concerns and their needs.
Okay. So, and maybe you share this with us in your bio, your background, but what would be something that people would be surprised to learn about you that they would never guess?
That they would never guess.
Yeah, if we were at dinner and you said, John, we like to do this, or this is something I do with my spare time, or these are books I read. What would be something about you that I would be like, wow, that's really neat?
Well, I tend to love to take the more unknown road. I went skydiving at the age of 50 with my teenage, well, they weren't teenagers, my young adult children.
Skydiving.
Any kind of hill to ski on, I'll go ahead and give it a shot. It may take me longer than them to get down, but I'll give it a shot. And I hope to still maintain that little sense of adventure to do that with my grandchildren, with my little girls who are now 9, 6, and 1.5, and to be able to experience some adventure with them. So I guess that's probably what people might not guess about me, is that I'm always up for an adventure.
So many of us have probably never skydived. And so describe that sensation to me of a perfectly good airplane. And you're
let
all
me say, it wasn't really a perfectly good airplane. We went up to this yokel place in Garrettsville, and it was a little rough, but we didn't do tandem. We did where you jump out yourself.
Wow.
And so I went with my niece and my daughter at the time were 20. I think they'd just turned 20, and we decided we were going to go do this. And it was funny. Once the two of them were out and I could see them safely with their parachutes pulled, then it was fine. And I mean, we had to go out and hang on the airplane, and then they said, okay, go. And you kind of, for a couple seconds are like, yeah, I don't think so. But then you've got to, you're there, your choice is to hang out on the airplane or let go. And it was amazing. It was amazing. I would do it again. It was amazing.
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
really cool. I would never have known that about you. I'm glad I asked you that question.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that Hudson Rotary is really invested in is our youth. And we're very involved with our high school programs and the development of the students. If you were going to give advice with your life's work and all of your experiences as a person, if you're going to give advice to a graduating senior that you would really help, hope that would impact their lives, what piece of advice would you give one of those students today?
Don't have tunnel vision. Don't focus only on what you think your path is. I mean, give it your all, but when life puts obstacles in your way, or when an opportunity arises, don't be afraid to proceed. If it's an obstacle, don't let it scare you. Look at it and say, okay, this is what I have. How do I navigate this? And if it's an opportunity, don't be afraid to change your path. If it's an opportunity, and like I used to tell my kids, you have two options, and nobody knows which one's the right one for you, but you may live the rest of your life saying, what if? And I just don't think that's a good way to live. I think you need to try it. And if it doesn't work out, you go back.
Well, Terry, I've learned a lot about you this morning, but one of the things that stands out is you've kept reinventing yourself. It sounds like you really have. And I mean that as a compliment that, what you've done, University of Akron, and then, the way that led you, and then you're a mother, and then you went back to Kent State and got your accounting master's, and you work for Davey Tree, and now realtor. I mean, it's pretty neat how you keep reinventing yourself. That's pretty awesome.
Well, and again, some of that was by choice. One was a major obstacle.
Right.
And so, you do what you have to do. And I think that it's worked out very well for me. And I would encourage any young person to just keep eyes wide open. Don't just keep them open.
Well, very good. Terry, thank you very much. We've enjoyed getting to know you better, and welcome to Rotary.
Yeah, well, and I'm really looking forward to when we can all actually interact again and enjoy one another's company.
All right, so let's move along. Our next Rotarian that we're going to have a conversation with is Bill McClure. Bill, you look pretty comfortable in that chair you're sitting in there. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Good. So, Bill, you've been with us now. Has it been about a year that you've been a Rotarian?
Yes, I joined December last year.
Okay. So it's possible that I wasn't at that meeting when you gave your presentation and background. So for those that maybe weren't in attendance or aren't long-term memory, tell us who you are, Bill. Give us a little bit about your background.
Well, I can tell you what I told you last year.
Great.
You remembered, and born and raised in Newcastle, Pennsylvania, which is to the east, not far, and went to Lafayette College and moved around the country, different jobs, engineering jobs, doing computer hardware development. Started out in Endicott, New York, IBM in Syracuse, GE, and Control Data in Minneapolis, and for a time in Canada, where my oldest daughter was born in Oakville, Ontario, and moved to New Jersey in 1977 with Perkin-Elmer Data Systems, and then out here in 1984. Lived in Hudson since then. worked for Rockwell for a while, and then had a sign company in downtown Cleveland for about 10 years till I got old enough to retire. Didn't have to worry about health insurance so much. Lived in Middleton Road for, I guess, 18 years, and moved to this house, one floor house, my smaller house, downsized in 2002. And I guess that's about it.
There you go.
I have 2 daughters.
So you've been around Hudson since 1984?
Yes, sir.
You've seen a few changes, huh?
Absolutely.
So what's kept you in town? What do you really like about Hudson?
Oh, a lot of things to like about Hudson. Like the small town and like the center of town. I like it. I moved from the township into the city. I live on a small cul-de-sac called Plymouth Drive inside the Case Drive loop, and you can walk to almost anywhere. And got married, remarried about 9 years ago. My late wife died in 1996, and Mary Ann, and married Anna about 9 years ago. And we spend most of our time in Hudson. She still has her house in Bath.
Got it.
It keeps us busy, taking care of 2 houses.
Yeah. So, so you've been in Hudson for a while. What attracted you to getting involved with the Rotary about a year ago?
Well, have a lot of friends in Rotary, or a few friends anyway, and it seemed like find out what was going on in town. Rotary was the place to be, and I like the morning meetings. I'm not a big fan of Zoom. It's better than no meetings.
Yeah.
But look forward to getting back to real meetings. And, find out what's going on and learn a lot about that. Haven't been too much involved with the community. I was a member of Qantas for a while, but haven't been there.
Got it. So, I've been asking the question with the pandemic. You've heard me ask Terry. We've all been impacted by it, and we know horrible stories of how it's impacted people, just close friends and society as a general. When you just in general, when you look at the numbers, but how would you give me something positive? Like how would you say that because of the pandemic, maybe you've grown as a person, or you've learned something new as a result of the pandemic? How would you answer that?
I don't know. Learning something new. We spend a lot of time reviewing some courses. There's a company called the Learning Company that has DVDs, and we watched a few of those and had time to do that and sit back, and not so much a social buzz. You have to kind of do your own thing. Did a lot of bicycle riding, watch people. It's kind of interesting when you see people wearing masks, and what's more interesting is the people that don't wear the mask. They say the mask helps the other person more than the mask wearer. So the message I see when I see someone not wearing a mask is they care about themselves more than about me. It's kind of interesting to see who doesn't wear a mask, looking public life and private life both.
Yeah.
Starts at the top.
Yep. So you've got a really interesting long background. So, the question I just asked Terry that you saw me ask her would be, with your long experience in industry and in town, what would be something about you that people would be surprised to learn about you?
I don't know. There's much surprising. I don't know. I really couldn't answer that.
Okay, let me tilt the question. What would you've got a really respectable long life, a lot of experience. What would be something that as you look at your life's work, what would be something you're absolutely most proud of?
Most proud of? Oh, that's an interesting question too. Um, we started traveling recently. I didn't do much traveling before. We took vacations mainly in the same place every year when I had kids. We drove across the state most Christmases, spent Christmas in Greenwich, Connecticut, where my late wife's family was. Anna, my current wife, born and grew up in Akron, so a lot less travel.
Yeah. So, you know, with you know, the bikes for Christ, how is that going? How's that program going?
That program did very well last year. It's kind of interesting. If you go out and you want to go buy a bicycle, it's very difficult now for two reasons. China has had problems with the pandemic and production's been down, and our president has made it difficult to trade with China. So most bicycles are made in China, the mid-range or low-range bicycles. So hard to get bicycles. So the used bicycles or Bikes for Christ, free bicycles, been very popular. We went over 600 bicycles given away this year, which is a record. It keeps growing. John Polhemus does 90% of the work. I help. It's been a little more difficult this year. I go up and get a bicycle or two from him, bring it back and work in my garage mostly instead of at his house. He has a place in Valley View near Middleton Road. Nice pole barn out in the back that I spent previous years working at, but it's been a very successful year. Getting bikes and delivering the bikes we've gotten donated have been very good bikes. People bikes in their garage, and a lot of them are lightly used and take minimal work to get fixed up. And a lot of the bikes that we got from Rotary were in quite good shape, didn't take too much work. One of the problems, we have a few bikes now that need tires, and it's very difficult to get tires. So we're hoping the parts and bicycles get better than the coming year. Hope it'll be a successful year. John goes to Florida every year, has a house down there. I think it's in Clearwater, and he elected to stay. I believe he's staying all this year. That's a change because of the pandemic. But Bikes for Christ did very well this year.
Good. It's my understanding that our Rotary Club donated around 60 bikes to the cause. So that's pretty amazing and
Yeah,
impressive.
that was a very good,
I'm sure other Rotarians maybe weren't quite aware of that. So that's something that you know, when I learned that, I was impressed by. Let me turn the question that I kind of ended with Terry. Again, you're a Christian. You do things for the youth. You know, you've got a pretty long history in Hudson and in a career, your work as an engineer. Well, if you're going to give advice to one of our high school seniors that our chapter, Hudson Rotary, is very involved with schools, you know, if I could ask you, what piece of advice with all of your life's experiences that would you want to pass along to them?
Well, I guess I would tell somebody to try to look at the big picture, take advantage of what opportunities you have. But when you do that, decide what you want to do or be with your career. Try to think about whether you want to stay and live in one town or whether you want to move around a lot. And when you move around a lot, it becomes difficult, particularly when you have a family. Looking at other families that move, particularly when their kids are in school. If you have a family full of extroverts, I think it's much easier than our family is mostly introverts, and it's difficult to get to know people. And particularly when kids are in high school or junior high, it's a difficult time to move. different jobs are required to move. I've been in product development. When the product's developed, you have to get another product to develop. The company doesn't have products in the pipeline. Quite often you start looking for another company to join, and that often means moving. That's one reason I moved around the country a lot. And I never thought of that when I started out my career. I just wanted to know, I wanted to use my degree in electrical engineering to develop products. I knew I wouldn't be very good in sales, and I could have stayed in production. Elected not to do that, but I think looking at the big picture is kind of important.
Yeah, for sure. Great advice. Bill, I've enjoyed our conversation this morning. I thank you for the short notice that you responded and were able to participate with us this morning for your fellow Rotarians to get to know you better as a person. And we look forward to those days we can break bread together and sit next to each other and continue the conversation sometime. So thank you for your time.
Look forward to that too. Thank you.
Okay, next up, literally a man who needs no introduction, our fellow Rotarian Jim Lang is going to be interviewed here this morning. Jim, are you unmuted? It looks like you are there.
Yes, I am. Before you start, John, I have a quick question for Bill. Is there, on the Bikes for Christ, does he need help with that committee or with that aspect, and how do you get involved and how do you contribute?
That's a good question.
John's always open for people that want to help. I started working Tuesday mornings and done that for 3 or 4 years, I guess now. And every Tuesday morning, 9 o'clock, I'd show up, and he welcomes anybody else that wants to learn about how to fix bikes and to help fixing bikes. I can let you know the number for John and work out something, and you're welcome to come up and see his operation when things get a little warm and better and we get
Sure.
started. He welcomes anybody who wants to help learn and how to fix bikes. He is very good. He's a retired Goodyear project engineer, and he's learned a lot about bikes, and he can do about everything now. We've taken bikes, the crank apart and replaced the bearings, and I've picked little bearings up off the floor and put them. It's kind of interesting what I've learned.
Where is it? Where is his location?
His location is Valley View Road, not quite to Middleton Road. There's an old home up there on the left side, and it's just about at the peak of the hill, just after all the white fences. And he has a nice big barn in the back. It's a fairly new barn, and it's a great place when it's warm enough. It gets cold, it gets pretty cold, but it's a nice place. He has it filled with bikes.
Well, if you can
Field
get
of
that
bikes.
information
That's
to
a good way to
Maryland,
put it.
I'd like to investigate that.
Sure, and get in touch with me anytime, and
Okay, Bill.
we can set up a time and let
Yeah,
John
I
know.
could ride my bike there and do it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've done that. He likes
No,
to
I
ride.
remember John just lives a little bit down the road on Valley View from me. And one time Amazon delivered something to my house that was intended for him and his house. And so I carried it down the street and went to his house. I was amazed when I got back there and saw his field of bikes that he had. And I didn't know about this Bikes for Christ program. I'm like, this guy is really into collecting bikes, but I had no idea what his purpose was with all those bikes. It's pretty neat.
It sounds,
Yeah, he doesn't collect them. He gets them to give them away. That started in Florida. He started helping a bike shop that donated bikes down there, and talked to our pastor, Rob Spar, at the time, and he encouraged him to see how it would go. And up here, I don't know how many years ago that, 6, 8 years ago, and it's grown ever since that.
That's neat. That's neat.
well, thanks for
Jim.
answering that. Yes, okay, sorry. Back to me.
Tell us, let's, I mean, you've been around a while, and you're,
Are you
Bill
saying
just
I'm
used the
old?
word introvert, extrovert. you're an
saying in mode?
extroverted extrovert, I think. And so, you know, I think everybody knows you, but I'd sure, let's start with formalities. Tell us a bit about your background. Tell us, who's Jim Lang?
You know, John, I figured that question was coming, so I prepared a short video. It's only like an hour. No, I'm just kidding. I was really born and raised in Western Pennsylvania in the Pittsburgh area. I hitchhiked when I was younger to my first job, which was at Isley's Delicatessen, cutting chipped ham and hard salami, making milkshakes and skyscraper ice cream cones, if anybody knows about Isley's. I did that for my high school, and then graduated McKeesport and went to Penn State. I stayed in McKeesport, went to the Commonwealth campus for a couple of years, and then ended up going to the main campus my last 2 years started in chemical engineering, and learned quickly that I have a pretty good math acumen, but you got to study. And I was like, this campus was like right across the street from my high school. So I thought I was still in high school, and I never really studied very hard in high school. And you probably knew that, but I had a good time. And when you're in chemical engineering and you don't study, you're not going to make it very far. So I quickly switched to accounting. That was a little bit too dry. So then I went to marketing. So I did get my degree in marketing and graduated Penn State, got a job for a company called Rockwell International, interviewed for that position, and they hired me and transferred me to Chicago. So I worked in Chicago, the suburbs, as a sales rep selling power tools. So that was my marketing. You don't realize when you get a degree in marketing, you don't go into marketing. You go into probably something else, in which sales was one of them. And I remember my interview, the guy asked me, he held up a pencil and said, "Sell me this pencil." I didn't learn anything about that at Penn State. I can tell you the 4 P's of marketing, or now I think there's 6 of them, but I didn't know what features and benefits. So I don't know. I don't remember what I said, but I got hired. Anyways, it was an interesting job because I went there. My first job was to rent a truck, load drill presses and circular saws and radial arm saws on a rental truck, take it to a trade show. And the company is at that time was called, it still has True Value Hardware. They're in Chicago. They got at that time 6,000 stores, and I was supposed to work a trade show. But first things to work in a trade show is to get the product there. So I'm sweating. I'm thinking, I got a degree and I'm doing this stuff. So I persevered, didn't mind it at all, really, because I didn't know how I was going to sell when I got into the booth anyhow. So that position, I was able to expand and do a decent job there. And a year and a half later, I got promoted and moved back to Pittsburgh, got promoted again, and moved to Cleveland. So it was like a 5-year time frame between graduation and coming to Cleveland. But in the meantime, in Chicago is where I met my wife, Dot. She's from that area, and we ended up getting engaged before I got transferred back to Pittsburgh. And then by the time I moved to Cleveland is when we got married, like right before then in Chicago, and had a little reception in the Pittsburgh area for my family. So back into Cleveland, I started working as a regional manager for the same company, and was approached by a person that was a manufacturer's rep, and I really had no idea what that was. And he explained, he said, well, we represent companies that really can't afford a sales force. They give you a contract. It's a 30-day contract, and you have to do your best to sell your product so you can keep that product and you make commission off what your sales are. I did that. I decided to join him as a sub rep. So he would acquire the lines, and then I would sell them for him, and he would pay me. And about a year after that, whenever I declared that I was leaving Rockwell and going into the rep business, some companies that were power tool related, like Dremel, was looking for a change in Ohio and Western Pennsylvania. So I interviewed personally for that rather than going through this, my major, the rep umbrella. So I was able to get that line, and that is what really launched my ability to start this rep business on my own, go into a partnership with another guy in Southern Ohio, add another partner in Toledo. So we covered the same geography as I did as a regional manager, with the same channels of distribution, with retail channels of distribution that have really changed dramatically since then. Back then there was, in this area, there was Uncle Bill's, there was Clicks, there was Rinks, a myriad of retail discount chains that no longer exist. So there was a lot more travel involved at the site at that time. So that was from a professional standpoint. I still do that. I sold the business about 6 years ago, and was maintained. Because of the relationships that you have with the companies that you represent, the company that acquired us, part of the arrangement was for me to stay on with them for 6 years and make sure that those lines went with there. So the contracts had to be rewritten. That was successful, and I'm still doing that. The nice thing about that is I don't have to worry about payroll.
Yeah.
I just have to sell. So at that point, it was really a relief for me and for Dot, because she was our accountant. That was a genius move, by the way, marrying an accountant.
Yeah.
Like, if you're in business, you can't do any better than that, especially a good one.
You got the sales
Right.
side, she's got the number side, right?
That's exactly, yeah. And sometimes they clash pretty hard though, John.
Yeah. I've
It's
seen
black
that.
and white for her, and I'm like a gray guy.
So how
Anyway.
long have you and Dot been married?
42 years.
42 years. And 3 kids.
3 children, 8 grandchildren. Very prolific family when
Yeah.
it comes to that.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
let me ask you this, as we're kind of driving to our 8:30 end time, is, I've really been asking the question to try and make a positive out of a very significant negative. I've been asking people how they've grown as a person as a result of the pandemic, that they're a better version of themselves than they were before the pandemic started. How would you say that you've grown, or that you're a better Jim Lang in some area because of the pandemic that maybe you wouldn't have gotten to?
Well, I know you've been asking that question, and that's really a difficult one in a lot of ways. First of all, I'll give you the personal side after this. The one thing that's really grown is from an expense standpoint. When I traveled, I mean, I can't believe the amount of money that you save when you don't travel.
Yeah.
And from a financial standpoint, it's been if you're still working like I am, and you don't have to travel, look at the money you save. So from a financial standpoint, that's like, I didn't realize that at first. From a personal aspect, though, you certainly spend a lot more time with your family, with your wife. We Zoom all the time. We learn more about our children and grandchildren. They have a lot more to say. They're a lot more interested in me, and I'm more interested in them. And I try to, I started out working out a lot more, but now I don't know. Sometimes I get into spurts, but from a standpoint, I think I have definitely learned to be a lot closer. We've always been a good, strong family, but
Yeah, absolutely you have.
this has been a real bonus from that standpoint.
So let me go on to this question. I've known you as a friend for a long time, but what would be something about you, Jim, that people would be surprised to learn about you?
Are you kidding? There's nothing that would surprise you that I would do, right? I could tell you that I skydived. You wouldn't care. I mean, you would expect that, right?
Yeah, I do view you as a very positive, make it happen every day kind of guy. And I love that energy about you. And I think everybody in your life can feel that energy from you. You draw people in, no doubt about it. But again, I'm just trying to say, gosh,
I
I've
know,
never
yeah.
known like Terry, that she jumps out of a perfectly good airplane. But, what would you say is maybe something about you that the Rotarians would be like, man, I would have never guessed that about that guy?
I would say I'm a handyman.
Handyman.
Yeah. I like to work with my hands. I've done a lot of projects around the house because I think it all stems from whenever I was selling power tools. I used them a lot in demonstrations and everything, and learned a lot about them. And now I enjoy doing it. I think it can be some creative, and you have to think about aspects that you don't think about. Yeah, you got to think ahead. But anyways, yeah, that's what I'd say. I'm a handyman.
Pretty neat.
Matter of fact, I thought about doing that as a part-time job.
Are you for hire? Should we put your phone number in the notes here that you're available for odd jobs around town?
Yeah, I would be for hire. Yeah, if I have the time. But
So
I've got plenty to do here, John. I got a
I know.
bathroom. Yeah.
Well, Jim, again, I've got the benefit of our long friendship and observing you and just, again, you've been president of Hudson Country Club. You're ultimately involved in the Hudson Country Club, certainly St. Mary's Church, your beautiful family,
Job search,
high
job
energy
search.
guy, always willing to do anything for anybody. I mean that sincerely and wholeheartedly, you know that. So I'm going to ask you our wrap-up question with the Rotary and our investment in youth. What would be advice from your life that you've learned that you would absolutely, if given the chance, want to share with a senior in high school or a senior in college right now?
Well, yeah, since you started asking that question this morning, I've been thinking about that. And by the way, you should have sent me these questions. I could have had perfect answers.
Yeah. Well, no, I want the real
Yeah.
answer.
Really, just to be honest with you, I would say, listen to what people tell you, listen to what they are really saying. A lot of it stems from what Terry was saying. You got to be empathetic, but I do think if you listen to people, you're a better person. You answer that, you understand them more. And that's what I would boil it down to.
I'm sorry, Jim, what did you say? Could you say that one more time? I apologize.
Which part was it? About listening?
So, well, Jim,
So is that a good answer?
yeah, absolutely.
There's no bad answer, is there?
No, but listen and be flexible and that's, those are all good
Yeah.
lessons and pieces of advice for anybody, let alone, the youth coming in through high school and
Right.
college. I've enjoyed our long friendship, my friend, and appreciate
Thank you.
willingness
Me too, John.
to,
Me too.
to share with us who you are this morning.
And
So
John, you might
fellow
want to
Rotarians get to know you better.
You might want to tell the group that we do share one common bond. And are we called ODOTs?
We ODARs.
ODOTs.
So Jim and I are both married to Armenian women, and when they marry somebody who's not a Armenian, They are called ODARs. And so, so Jim and we share an ODAR bond.
Right. We get together, we talk the same language.
The special handshake, all that stuff.
Right, right.
Well, thanks for
Okay, well,
letting
with
us
that,
know on that.
I'm going to turn it back over to you, Marilyn.
All right. And I totally agree with what Jim is saying. Listening is so very important. Unfortunately, Americans are very often giving you about 10 seconds and then starting to think of the things that they themselves are going to be saying in response. And so it's hard to break that pattern. But January is such a dark and lonely month. I'm going to take this opportunity to pitch the library. The excitement of the holidays is behind us, and these days are so slowly starting to lighten. And we need a little activity to get us going. Tomorrow night, Bill Nye, the science guy, is going to be presenting at the library virtually at 7 o'clock at night. Now, how much fun will that be? Last night, there was an absolutely terrific speaker who spoke about energy adaptation in the United States in the 1930s and 40s under FDR. Absolutely wonderful, wonderful presentation. So they've got a lineup that's really strong this month. They know that we're pretty much stuck at home, and they also know that these wonderful speakers at a good price are going to be great. So also, I'd urge you to check out the Facebook page for the League of Women Voters here in Hudson. They have a 3-part series on construction conversations beginning next Monday evening. Strongly urge you to check that out. They've got a really nice presentation there that you can view. And lastly, enjoy a cozy romantic dinner at home provided by one of our own outstanding local restaurants. These establishments have supported Rotary every time we have approached them. The Hudson restaurants provide the hot chocolate for our visits with Santa on the Green, and many have offered wonderful vouchers for our past galas. They modified their dining rooms to protect you. They have, you can see how easy it is to be socially distanced if you desire to eat there. But many are restricting their hours now because of finances. In fact, downtown 140 is going to be closed for the month of January, so they need our business. So dine in Hudson, pick it up in Hudson. The meal delivery services are convenient, but they're taking their profit from the establishments. But please keep it here. Hudson is known for its intimate and variety and fine food establishments that we have long loved. So let's do our part to support our hometown. We're going to close it out today by talking about this day in history. In 1931, Thomas Edison filed the last of his 1,093 patent applications, demonstrating that he was one of the most prolific inventors of all time. In 1942, our own Bob Feller enlists in the Navy and reports for duty in Norfolk, Virginia. In 1975, Wheel of Fortune debuted on NBC TV and still remains a part of a lot of people's evening programming. And in 1994, the Dow Jones hit a record high of 3,803.88. How far have we come? As a last note, I really want to thank Bill McClure for stepping up when we had a problem, actually. We were going to have to start paying for storing the bicycles that we had collected from the community and from the Hudson Police Department. We were unaware of Bikes of Christ until Bill brought that forward for us. And it was a wonderful group activity, getting a couple of Rotarians together to move the bicycles, and it would be wonderful to continue to support them. Bicycles for Christ essentially has a volunteer workforce. So I think anyone who is of an interest to that, go for it. Bikes mean freedom for kids. Kids need bikes to get to school, to get to a friend's house, to get to learning activities, heck, to get to the library. So it's a very good thing. So have a great day, and we will see you all next week. Next week, we are taking a little different thing. We're going to get off of the bikes and we're going to get on the trails with Bill Seepy. So you'll see more of that in my weekly newsletter. Thank you and have a great day. So there we go.